Yeah, new hair, new me, who that? Just a second. Welcome to Healthy Living with Christina Sichangwa. Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to welcome you here today and also encourage you to ensure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And we're gonna get into it just about now. I was having a personal conversation, as always. I was having a conversation and just thinking back to something that happened a couple of years ago, which I will get into, and I really felt something similar was happening again, so I was putting myself in check, hence this video being titled Check Yourself. I really believe I really believe in objectivity. By objectivity, I mean, I really believe that yes, we have emotions, yes, we have this, yes, we have that, but sometimes, like, beyond the emotions, beyond all of that, there's like actual truths, actual facts. And I've been checked a number of times, and it was from that experience that I learned to check myself. So a couple of years ago, I remember I was in my third year at the University of Zambia, and I was like in my room, and something had happened to someone close to me, and I was really I was over it. Have you ever had that person who's just like in your life, let's say your family or that friend, who's like always making the same mistake, for lack of a better term, no matter how much you advise and all of that stuff? And so I really felt like, oh, here I go again. You know, like I felt like I was dragging myself to go back and pray for this person, to go back and advise this person all over again, you know, and believe the best in them. I'm using, you know, inverted commas because I don't think I was really believing them. And I remember as I was going to sleep, the Lord said something to me. He said, Christina, you're acting like Jonah. And I could write a book from that moment. I was very triggered. I was just like, wait, hold up. I'm a really good person. I care about people, and why is the Lord saying there's something about my behavior that's similar to that of Jonah? So what did I do? Of course, I went to study Jonah, because that's what I do, and I believe he knew that's what would happen. And something that really stood out to me about Jonah is he had the know-how of God, he had the knowledge of God, but not really the knowledge of God. Right? I'm sure you've experienced it before. Let's say family, it happens mostly in families or friends. Someone is convinced they really know you, and then when they open their mouth and talk, you're like, wow. Maybe even, I'll give a personal example. Birthdays. Every single birthday, I have a list. I have a list of things that I truly want, like to just avoid the awkwardness of you buying me something I really dislike, because I have a hard time, you know. Yeah, I'll be like, oh my god, oh, but I'm never going to wear it, and it's touching. Like, why should you have to waste money when I can tell you what I want? That's what I mean. Like, maybe because I liked yellow, I loved the color yellow when I was younger, so maybe everything you get me now is yellow, because that's what, you know, I think you get what I mean. Like, I feel like that's how Jonah was. So he went there. Firstly, he was tripping. Then he goes there, and then he tells these people, listen, the Lord's gonna kill all of you. And he was happy, because the backstory of those guys is they were like, they are colonial masters. So after all of that happens, the Lord forgives them, and Jonah was offended. He was like, Lord, you always do this. This is why I didn't want to come. But if he really knew why the Lord did that and how much those people were deserving, because if you read to the end, the Lord literally knew the actual population. You know, he said to them, he gave him a tree, then killed the tree, and Jonah was mad about a tree. And he's like, how can you be upset about a tree, but you're okay with thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people dying? So do you really know me? Kind of situation. And I was really touched. But I also learned that, wow, I could actually have a problem. Like, sometimes I feel like when we go through something, especially conflict, whatever it might be. Even the example I've given, many other times, because we're like, it's like looking in a mirror, it's like a reflection. Many other times we just see us, and it's like everything we've done is somewhat validated. And yeah, I feel like it really taught me how to be objective every single time I'm doing an introspection. Or it also taught me the biggest lesson, which is humility. I'll stick to the same example of conflict. There have been times where I'm genuinely hurt about something that someone did, and I feel like, for me, it usually feels like how could you, why couldn't you just be considerate and all of that stuff? And then you later find out, like, no, maybe there were precipitating factors, it really wasn't deliberate, or they're just genuinely sorry. And I hate that feeling where it's like I judge them and I sentence them to death in my mind, cut them off. And then later on, it's like, wait, it actually wasn't that bad. Like, if I had looked at it at this and this and that angle, it really taught me that I don't know everything. So I just wanted to share some of the tips that help me check myself in several moments, right? Okay, so number one, I would say what the Bible says. Let he who stands take heed lest he falls. I love that scripture because it's basically, I always imagine it like, if there's something I hate, I don't run. I don't like running.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
And something I really dislike is the thought of me falling and embarrassing myself. So, I walk a certain type of way, and I'll be very conscious of my environment as much as I can. But like, the thing is, I do that because I know, like, I could be standing right now, but any small thing, maybe a spill on the floor, a rock, and I could have fallen. So it's like what the Bible is saying, like, just because you're standing, don't think so highly of yourself that it's impossible for you to fall. No, it can happen to anybody. And when I changed my mentality and I remind myself of that a lot, I feel like it keeps me in check, it keeps me humble. Like, wait, I could actually be the wrong one. I could be the person that's being toxic to another person. I'll give an example. I always say to people who've been hurt, like, the last thing you want is where you move from being a victim to being bitter just because you won't let it go. Which is another reason we spoke about reconciliation and taking the sorry that never came. Because you can imagine someone hurts you. For instance, a parent walked out on you, they abandoned you or something, and then years later, genuinely they're sorry, they've made something out of themselves, they have another family, but you're still the person who's like super mad all the time. Anybody who has ears will hear about how this person abandoned you 63 years ago and all of that stuff. Like, it's, and then you're the bitter person, like, you're just so angry, it hurts you, like, that their life didn't turn out like a Nigerian movie. They didn't end up with boils, living on the streets, crawling to you, begging for forgiveness. No, they're actually flourishing. They're doing quite well for themselves. So my point is still, oh my God, I don't know what's wrong with my dogs. My point is still, like, it reminds me, like, let me watch my heart, let me watch my words, let me watch myself, let me keep myself in check, because I could be the person who's creating a toxic environment for another person. I could be the person who's hurting another person, and yeah, taking them through the worst. And it's really, honestly, it keeps me humble, it keeps me on my feet. The second thing I would say that really helps me is that man was not made to be alone. By that, I always say that by design we needed help. We're not made to be alone. I'm saying that also for moments of conflict. There's a story in the Bible I really love, and it's that of Joseph. So Joseph was having dreams. He had his bros around him, all his brothers, and he's having dreams like, look, I keep dreaming that I'll be like Lord over all of you, and they're like super jealous because of how the dad is treating them. And you see what I mean? Just because they were in a collective and they were the majority, they genuinely felt like Joseph had a problem. And honestly, there could have been better wisdom. Joseph maybe could have, kept some of them to himself. I don't know. But honestly, like, they thought they were doing the right thing, and they ended up sharing that hatred for their own blood brother, enough to want to kill him, then sell him off into slavery. But what ended up happening is he was right, and he's the person who ended up saving the entire nation. And I really feel like sometimes when you hear such stories, we're like, oh my god, those guys were so horrible. And that's exactly why I'm making this video. Like, honestly, you could be the brother. You could be the brother. But on the flip side, if you are not and you're Joseph, you're still not made to be alone. He was a foreigner in power, and he's the only person who understood the magnitude of losing the entire nation and needed the help of his brothers, and, you know, appealed to Pharaoh, and that's how he let his family move in and all of that stuff. Because it's like, even he recognized, like, you did me dirty, but we're brothers. Like, let's, as much as we can, let's just put it behind us. And I really feel like that does help. When you realize you're not meant to be alone, like, it helps you just genuinely forgive people for some of the things that they've done. I'm not saying be gullible. I always say that. Don't be gullible. Don't keep everybody in your circle and all of that stuff. But it doesn't hurt to just forgive them and, like, you know, let it go. And then in the same way, like I said, I needed help to know that I was actually hurting a friend of mine by feeling so self-righteous, like this person is always doing wrong, and ended up, like, I can't imagine what I would have become if God didn't check me, and I needed help. So sometimes, honestly, being in a friendship circle, or sharing really the real story, and being open, not just venting, but being open to the counsel, being open to someone telling you, but you shouldn't have used those words. I've seen people who've been very upset. For instance, someone has a child and they do badly in school, and they're like, just a failure after all this money I've spent. Have they spent all that money? Yes, but then, like, you just use the words you swore you'd never use with your children. Like, if you're going to come to me and tell me the story, I'm most probably going to check you on that. I'm going to remind you, like, but you should not have used such words. Maybe you should have waited to calm down and, you know, and find out what really is going on with the person. So that's what I mean. Sometimes sharing helps show us where we need work. It helps, you know, show us that, okay, maybe you're going a certain type of way. I went through, like, a bad I call it a divorce sometimes, with a very close friend of mine who I knew from, like, primary school. And when we parted ways, I genuinely didn't notice that I was shutting down a bunch of people, because I really believed this person would be in my life for the rest of my life, and that didn't happen. But from interacting with people, they began to show me that I was treating people like they're dispensable or whatever. Like, it's like, if you act up, I'm like, okay, whatever, you can walk away, it doesn't matter, which isn't true. Not everybody is replaceable. So I really appreciate that I wasn't so high and mighty that I wasn't open. Like, sometimes, yes, I can be like, sometimes maybe the person can exaggerate. They say, there's a saying, okay? There's a saying that you pick out it's like eating fish. You pick out the flesh and you toss the bones, right? So sometimes, like, you're like, oh, these people, they just don't get me. But pick up what you can and honestly toss the bones, like I did. Like, I didn't feel in my heart that the people were replaceable. I was just hurt and didn't know that I was creating a barrier, but I took the counsel, right? All right, so another thing I would say is you don't get to choose when or where you might need help. Why am I saying that? Like, what the Bible tells us about the Good Samaritan, this guy got robbed, was beaten up, and passed out. The person who came to help him was someone who traditionally shouldn't even be, like, within 2 yards of him or something like that. So because of that, like, it's again connecting back to what I just said, like, you were not born to be alone. You don't really get to choose when and where. Life really just happens to us, and it would be really amazing if you were open to getting help. I'm speaking to myself. It's why it's called Check Yourself. Yeah, so I'm saying that because when you're open to that, it's like what we're talking about, transitions, them being inevitable. When you're open to that, you're also open to the fact the Bible tells us that all things work together for the good of they that love the Lord. I'm saying that because sometimes even the negative things, they work together for your good. Even those moments where you get checked, they work together for your good. I honestly think I'm a better person, a better leader, a better wife, a better sister, and all of that stuff from the time that the Lord checked me. And honestly, I needed help at the time my friend needed help. I don't get to choose, you know. I should be open. It's something I've really learned about having a relationship with God, is that He's sovereign. He's going to do what He wants to do when He wants to do it. So, like I say, I'm a planner. I may have put my life a certain type of way, but sometimes really life does just happen, and you should know and meditate on the fact that all things were still meant to work together for your good. So when you have those very uncomfortable moments, maybe let's say conflict, betrayal, some of the things I was talking about, like where you are now the bigger, you are the helper, you're the person helping someone else, be open any single time to just check yourself, just in case, you know, you are the person making the situation worse. Either way, we do whatever needs to be done to ensure we are living a healthy life over here. And I just want to say thank you for watching this video.